Welcome to TCTV News for the week of June 16th, 2025. I'm Ian Dolan.
And I'm Erin Bresnahan.
As many of you already know, there was a rather shocking event on Scout Hall on June 6th around 4 p.m.
That's one way of putting it. The Scout Hall building was struck by lightning.
Thankfully, no one was harmed, but TCTV will not be able to work at a Scout Hall until the building meets requirements for occupancy. That's why we aren't filming this episode on our usual set.
Wait. Did you put us somewhere else?
I am the show's editor, and we don't have a place.
Do we have any idea when TCTV will be able to get back in Scout Hall?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Got the okay to move forward. I notified service masters. I met the president out there yesterday, assessed the building, and took moisture readings. There's anywhere from 70 to 100% moisture still in the building. There was a couple back areas with 20%. They came today. They set up about 20 blowers and a couple of dehumidifiers. They're going to bring some more blowers and dehumidifiers tomorrow. They removed all the insulation in the basement. They got to pull the ceiling down on the entryway and the floor. They got all the insulation out of the basement and the floor up today. And then they're going to remove all the insulation out of the attic. Once they get their asbestos test results back, which could be tonight, it's mandatory that they make sure the building's clear.
With that being said, all of us at TCTV would like to thank the first responders who helped put out the fire and make sure everyone in the area stayed safe.
And thank you to everyone who has checked in on us and our well-being. We appreciate your kind words and concern for us.
Now, where does TCTV temporarily land?
We're a yard sale.
We're having a yard sale?
No, we're scattered all over. We're at Town Hall, we're at the library, the senior center, our friends at Wachusett Business Incubator in Gardner.
We're also taking advantage of this opportunity to spread out and create more community programming.
And take some cool hikes in the area.
It's a good time of year for that. A bolt of lightning can't even stop us.
Maybe don't say that.
At the June 11th Select Board meeting, School Street was made into a two-way street for the Baldwinville School Housing Project.
What's the reasoning exactly for wanting to make it a two-way instead of keeping it a one-way?
So that's all based off of the study that was performed for the development. So essentially, the project that I'm working on is based on those assumptions and the town being willing to accommodate the two-way. But essentially, I believe it would be for accommodating the traffic for the development and allowing that to be two-way so that people can access the development from School Street or Baldwinville.
A groundbreaking of the project took place last week as well.
The use of free cash and the stabilization account in the town's financial management has been discussed.
67% basically is funds that the TA can use to cover different things. Then 10% was going into capital stabilization and 10% was into the infrastructure stabilization, 8% in the general stabilization fund, and 5% for OPEB, which is the other, it really basically retiree health insurance. If you generate a good amount of investment income, that is further money that we could leverage.
Best case scenario, we're behind the eight ball and we're trying to use too little money to do too much. I would say, after removing the suggested snow and ice, that it'd be more like a 90-10 split from there. 90% going into the general stabilization, CapEx, infrastructure, and OPEB. And we, in turn, this would allow us to actually create a capital improvement plan rather than a capital ordering system.
There's been a lot of discussion that UGA would not be funded the unspecified governmental general assistance, if I remember the acronym correctly. At its inception, that was like an 11 to 12% of our overall budget was the magic formula the state would give us. It never kept up with inflation. They've given us the same amount each and every year when they have doled it out. When you actually sit and crunch the numbers, it's somewhere around the 6th or 7th percentile. So to sit there, it's just like, let's just spend the free cash as we get it built up. We can't rely on UGA to come in. And I look at it just as our policy says, it's another one-time money coming in that what should we be doing with it? So there are some more questions than there are answers in my mind.
Town finances have also been on the minds of advisory committee members. On June 5th, the committee discussed whether Templeton should have a 5-year financial plan.
That 5-year plan that we talked about, let's get everybody there. You know, if you don't start working on the problem and the solution, you're never going to make any progress.
You know, I have discussed publicly and privately is that the town should do, you know, what the city of Arlington does is that every 4 years they have a Prop 2.5 override, and it's just baked into the budget. And
you know, how do we balance the needs of the town and protect the people on the fixed income?
A preliminary plan for a housing development connecting Cottage and Baker Lanes and Stevens Way was presented at the June 10th Planning Board meeting.
Neighborhood residents posed questions about drainage, water and sewer, roads, and traffic. Should Baker's Lane have a gate? The hearing is continued to the June 24th Planning Board meeting. Should Baker Lane have a gate? The hearing is continued to the June 24th Planning Board meeting.
The validity of the regional school agreement with Phillipston was questioned at the June 5th Advisory Committee meeting.
I don't think we have a valid school district. I don't think we do. It's been too many years since the last one. There's too many questions. I'm of the opinion that they either take the agreement today, sign it, or we start separating everything out, and that we go our separate ways. Phillipston voted against sending their kids to the new school, elementary school.
Right.
I don't think they should be in our school system, in our school, because it is our school. We're paying for it. And we're taking on too much of the financial responsibility for that school. When Phillipston specifically said, I don't want my kids going there. The fact that we incurred all of the debt on the elementary school, they're not paying their fair share. You know,
I will say that I've heard that what's happening is unprecedented, and DESE doesn't have any guidance. They don't know what to tell us. I've also, it's my understanding and my opinion and my belief that the messiness of the situation with the school district makes us very undesirable for any other towns to want to pair up, join up, meet up, help out. Even ones that are further underwater than we are like, no thanks.
Also, can the sewer and water departments get together on billing?
apparently at one time, you know, 25 years ago, it was all under one umbrella. You know, you get a water bill, a sewer bill, electric bill, you know, they're all combined. You either get one bill or be one entity. Now you have it split up. I think it is best for the town to just have one umbrella entity the way they did, 25 years ago. But the fly in the ointment is that, boards change on the electric department, boards change on the sewer department. They're governed by separate state statutes. The way to do this is that either us or the select board is, one of us. I think we're the two bodies in town that can do it, but we really need to have a hearing where all the interested parties can sit down and talk this through and collaborate. And
where are we now?
Is your street on the repair list, Templeton? A Chapter 90 roadwork plan was approved at the May 28th Select Board meeting.
I do have several roads I'm gonna determine in priority which ones I'm gonna do. And I set aside 35,000 for that. And that would be Chapter 90 money.
A farmer's or summer market is set to take place in conjunction with concerts on the Common.
Here's the schedule.
Will TCTV be covering some of them?
We definitely hope so.
Also, what's a farm share to enjoy farm fresh produce, and how can you participate?
Interested purchasers can sign up directly with a farm and pay for a share or a half share, as it were, or whatever mechanism the farm uses. And it's a good way for the farmer to be able to get some advance money. That way they're able to use that as their inputs, fertilizer, seed, so forth. And each week, however that's worked out with the farm, some farms deliver, some farms you go pick up your box, some farms you actually pick.
At the June 2nd Agricultural Commission, it was announced that the USDA cuts affect fresh boxes made available to low-income families.
And chicken owners, pay attention to the sturdiness of your coops. Bears are out there.
Bear with us, Templeton.
So, what was it like?
What was what like?
Being in the Scout Hall Inferno.
It was not an inferno.
It was struck by lightning. Multiple local fire crews responded to the blaze.
We already reported on this, and again, I wouldn't call it a blaze.
Flames were reported.
Yes, small flames were visible on the cupola base where the lightning struck, but mostly it just smoldered. Scout Hall is not the Towering Inferno.
How about a smoldering inferno?
For the last time, it wasn't an inferno.
The Towering Inferno was a disaster movie from the 1970s with a cast including Hollywood icons Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, Faye Dunaway, William Holden, and Fred Astaire.
The dancer? Was he dancing the hot shoe?
He was nominated for an Oscar in his role.
Not even a star-studded cast trapped in a burning skyscraper could save this movie from being an epic disaster.
It won 3 Academy Awards and was nominated for Best Picture.
Producers cashed in on the disaster movie craze that included Earthquake, Incense Surround, and The Poseidon Adventure and Tidal Wave.
That last one was a complete washout.
In more ways than one.
Anyway, we're not starring in our own disaster movie. Scout Hall needs some repairs, but TCTV remains in business.
Not even a lightning bolt can stop us.
I wish you'd stop saying that. But we do have to go back to the 1970s to change the TV regulations that are outdated today.
What are you thinking? That's a topic for another day. Here are some reminders for Templeton residents.
What's going on in Templeton?
Well, on June 21st, the Narragansett Historical Society will be holding its annual Tea in the Garden event. This budding tradition is held in the gardens behind the Historical Society building from 2 to 4 p.m.
We got to interview Mary Miller from the Historical Society at the Cabin Fever Collectors Show when she brought the Society's teapot collection for display.
Enjoy some tea, cookies, and jazz in the garden.
On June 22nd, the first performance of the Concerts on the Common series starts with Holding Back the 60s.
And on the same day, in the same place, the Templeton Farmers Market is back. Check out what Templeton's farmers and crafters are producing this summer.
And you won't even have to leave the concert because they're both happening on the Templeton Center Common.
It's a win-win.
Also on June 22nd, there will be a softball tournament at Gilman Waite. Bring your lawn chairs and your town pride to cheer on the players.
Upcoming meetings in Templeton include the Board of Health will meet on June 23rd, the Planning Board will meet on June 24th, the Select Board will meet on June 25th.
Is that it?
That's all we found on the town meeting calendar. After the June 25th meeting, there won't be another live-streamed meeting until July 8th. You can check the town website, templetonma.gov, in the meeting calendar for all Templeton municipal meetings.
Summer is rolling in, but so are storms of all kinds.
You can say that again.
Let's look at the forecast for the next couple of weeks.
And now, for the Health and Wellness Report. According to the last quarterly report from the Development Services, several communicable diseases are still floating around. Cases of COVID pop up now and again, and the state is still monitoring the measles outbreak in other states, though no cases are reported in Massachusetts.
Wait a minute. That report was from May 8th. Don't we have something more up to date?
Unfortunately not. There hasn't been another town administrator's report since then.
That's not good. Should we reach out to the health agent ourselves for an update?
Maybe for our next show, but Templeton, stay vigilant and stay informed. This has been TCTV News for the week of June 16th, 2025. I'm Ian Dolan.
And I'm Erin Bresnahan.
Hopefully the next time we see you, it will be back in Scout Hall.
Or if not, we could film the show from WBI's new space in Gardner. I hear the renovations are almost done and that they're having an open house on June 26th.
Either way, that's all until our next show.
See you next time, Templeton. Where are we again?